I want to wish all of you a very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you joining us from around the world. And thank you. Thank you so much for giving us an hour of your time and joining us today for this overview webinar for Columbia Business School Executive Education's online program, Pricing Methodologies, Unlock Pricing Efficiency with Data and Insights. We are so thrilled to have all of you here with us today. Allow me to introduce you to our amazing program leader who will be your program leader for this program. Brian Gross is on the line with us today. Brian, a very good afternoon. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you too, Mark. Welcome, everybody. So glad to be here and happy to give you some helpful insights into the program of pricing methodologies.
Thank you so much for being here, Brian. And once again, my name's Mark Linehan. I'm going to move along and introduce you to our amazing faculty for this program. Dr. Robert Phillips, the founder of Nomus Solutions, which is a software and consulting organization that helps financial service organizations better manage pricing and profitability, is your amazing faculty member for this program. He has had a long and storied career. Before founding Nomus Solutions, he was the director of pricing research at Amazon, where he led a team of data scientists and economists that developed the analytic approaches underlying pricing for Amazon's businesses. Before Amazon, Dr. Phillips was the director of marketplace data science at Uber, as well as professor of professional practice at Columbia Business School and director of the Columbia Center for Pricing and Revenue Management. And during that time, he was also a visiting scholar and lecturer at the Stanford Business School. You can see there that Dr. Phillips is also a pioneer in developing pricing and revenue optimization and dynamic pricing in many industries, including passenger airlines, cruise lines, rental cars, retail, automotive, hotels, trucking, manufacturing, among many others. He served as CEO of Decision Focus Incorporated and as CEO of Talus Solutions. So a long and storied career. We are super happy to have his insight and his expertise being what we learn, what we cover in this program. So in short, if you want to learn pricing methodologies, Dr. Robert Phillips is one of the best minds in the world to be learning it from. And where you're going to be learning it from is Columbia Business School Executive Education. So why attend this program through Columbia Business School? In short, Columbia Business School is one of the finest business schools in the world, priding itself on its excellent faculty, providing its students with superior knowledge and thought leadership across divisions and disciplines. Columbia Business School is over 100 years old, established in 1916 to provide business training and professional preparation for both undergraduate and graduate students at Columbia University. Now, Columbia Business School does happen to be the only Ivy League business school that is located in the global business hub of New York City. Columbia Business School has almost 50,000 alumni spread out all over the world in over 120 countries. And Columbia Business School, of course, is part of the famed Ivy League Columbia University, one of only 9 colleges or universities in the United States older than the United States itself. And Columbia University has a whole range of distinguished alumni, including over 80 Nobel Prize winners, multiple justices of the Supreme Court, over 24 Oscar winners, multiple US presidents. So Columbia University is one of the finest schools in the United States. Columbia Business School is one of the finest business schools in the world. And so we feel that if you want to be learning about pricing methodologies, this is the place to do it. And we are super proud of this online program. Now, the next question is, who is this program for? If you are on this call today, we are pretty confident that this program is for you. But this program was specifically designed for managers and analysts who want to use analytics to gain a better understanding of their target customers' behavior, including how they perceive value and maximize profits through precision pricing of every product in their portfolio. So if that sounds like you, then you're in the right place. But this program is especially ideal for 3 categories of people. So let us know if any of these sound like you. This program is specifically built for if you are a product and category manager or a product marketing manager, and you want to optimize prices under constraints determined by competition within the market, by inventory and other factors, and you want to be able to drive revenue growth through your product portfolio, then this program is for you. If you're a mid to senior level professional in sales, marketing, or general management, and you want to achieve the highest possible profit on each deal, as well as automate every aspect of the sales process, including pricing, to empower your sales force with smart pricing solutions, then this program is for you. And also, if you're a pricing analyst or business analyst, and you want to use a tactical analytics-based approach to determine prices for your product, then this program is ideal for you. And you'll see here at the bottom, if you have any of these roles or titles, if you're a product manager, product marketing manager, category manager, sales director, pricing analyst, VP of sales, business analyst, product analyst, any of these variety of representative roles and titles down here, then this program is especially built for you. Now, at the end of this 6-week program, what will you be empowered to do specifically? What goals, what tasks, what skills will you have at the end of this 6-week program? The key takeaway that I want to give you is that at the end of this 6-week program, you will be empowered to set pricing as a benchmark to maximize profit, improve market share, and create customer value. You will be empowered to understand historical and modern methods of pricing and customer perception. You will be able to use analytics and quantitative tools to determine prices and measure their effectiveness. You'll be able to apply behavioral economics to determine optimal pricing. You will be able to engage with stakeholders across functions to improve tactical pricing. And you will be able to focus on pricing dynamics using a real-world approach that supersedes competitive pricing. All of that you will be empowered to do after just 6 weeks in pricing methodologies online offered through Columbia Business School Executive Education. But to get into more of the specifics, the how, the what is going to be covered in this 6-week program, going module by module. There's no one better in the world to do that than our program leader, Brian Gross. So Brian, take it away, my friend.
Thank you, Mark. Again, hi and welcome to you all. Excited to be here. A bit about me before I get into the program specifics, in case you're curious. My academic background, my pedigree, I guess you could say, is Berkeley, UC Berkeley undergraduate and PhD in economics. I then spent about 10 years in academia teaching and doing research up and down the West Coast, University of British Columbia, Humboldt State, Willamette University in Oregon, back down to Southern California for a private liberal arts college called Whittier College. I've been a bit all over the place in terms of academic institutions, but in terms of my research, where I got started was with how to put dollar values to things that don't have value. So I was working with ecologists and trying to put value on the dollar value on the services that bees were providing to agriculture, wild bees. That was interesting. That took me a ways. And so that was how I started in training. But over time, I got pulled more and more in the direction of analytics in industry and analytics, generally speaking. That was my teaching focus. But I also done some consulting work. So I did essentially what this program is all about, revenue optimization and analytics for a small software development firm, and have gotten involved. And actually how I got involved started as a program leader was I started as a subject matter expert for the design phase of this. So I work closely with the faculty, Robert Phillips, and the course academic delivery manager. It was, or course designer, I should say, lead course designer. And it was a great experience because Robert, as you will see, is just a really fantastic embodiment of what you need to know on this front. And I say that because I've interacted with the academic oriented business faculty, economics faculty, statisticians. There's a lot of analytical power and prowess with them, but oftentimes not exactly the kind of where the rubber meets the road in terms of experience in creating actual results. Whereas Bob is clearly has that experience, and through his work, even starting with the airlines, really at the forefront of what pricing, dynamic pricing and new forms of pricing management were. So he's been involved in so many different levels of this. He can speak to the academics, but more importantly, I think I'm sure for you guys, he can speak to practitioners and folks that are actually looking to apply what we're learning. That's just a bit about Bob and my experience and how great it was to be a part of the design phase, As program leader, I'm here to help support your whatever assistance you might need. I've gotten involved with folks on their specifics with the organization. Someone was doing some pricing management analysis for a corner market store, and we're saying, okay, this is the data that I have on this particular product, and I would work through, this is the kind of data that you would need in order to do the analysis that you are looking for. That tailored, individualized, specific assistance is something I'm happy to provide, but also obviously just to usher you through what we deliver in terms of the broad picture. And I think with that note, Mark, would you mind advancing? Yep. So what is this program going to be giving you? I think you are here, and I think most folks that are even remotely interested in this program know how important pricing is to get it right. Some of the numbers down at the bottom there are somewhat indicative of this, but again, you probably know this intuitively. Conceptually, when you are adjusting price, you're not necessarily affecting your costs at all. So you're just increasing your revenue and therefore just increasing your profit margin. And that spells nothing but good things for you. By some measurements on the left there, it's 200 to 350% return on investment. Hard to find that in many other types of asset management or investments that you could think of. And the one on the right is somewhat similar. So it's a 1% pricing improvement. I'm not exactly sure how this was defined as a different Mrs. McKinsey analysis. But however that was defined resulted in 11.1%. So again, in percentage terms, you can see improving pricing is dramatically helpful. It is the low-hanging fruit, truly. And in order to do that, in order to achieve those gains, part of the task is just conceptualizing the problem. And I think that's what this program is best for, is walking through and understanding all of the different facets of what truly is the questions you should be asking and what are the ways of going about answering them. The ways going about answering those questions is what's called this analytical approach. We have a couple of different frameworks for doing that, but essentially understanding the key relationship between price and outcome, price and profit, or price and revenue, whatever it is, the main lens through which we're looking. And we have different modeling frameworks and different visualization options that you can go in terms of attempting to answer the questions that you have. There's a lot more to say on this, which I might get into a little bit as we go down through module by module, but that's a big picture. Mark, would you mind hitting the next slide? So the very first module, as you might expect, is an introduction to the topic. It's also getting everybody on the same page when it comes to the terminology, graphical elements, and it also gives you a preview of what's to come in terms of what you're expected to do. But one of the questions I received is, what kinds of tools and knowledge do I need in order to be successful in this program? And the answer is really just a rough sense, a rough familiarity with Excel. So a lot of the assignments are going to be Excel based. If your exposure and experience is in a different spreadsheet software, it's all the same mechanics. But being able to read it, download and work in an Excel file or a conversion of it, and then re-upload. So that's in terms of software and knowledge side. In terms of your technical level of experience in Excel, it doesn't have to be that much. In fact, we do our best to provide you with as much resources as you might need in order to get up to speed. So if anything, we err on the side of, we expect you to know almost nothing. And I'm sure every one of you know more than what we're expecting. But if you need it, it's there. These are supplemental instructional videos, tutorial videos that I've put together to help basically prepare you and allow you to complete the assignments that we offer for each module. I go through almost exactly what the task is, so you can get that walkthrough. That's very much ushered for you. In terms of analytical capabilities coming into this program, we expect you to have a rough statistics 101, at least vague memory that you might have had from before about what maybe you may know the word regression, what that roughly means, or you just remember the hearing it at some point. That's fine. But other than that, we don't have a set expectation of you need to know this in order. Like we're really going to be trying to build everybody up from the ground up. So that's what module 1 is doing. It's just making sure we're all on the same page in terms of just understanding the language that we're speaking and the software that we're using. That's module 1. We can jump on to module 2. Thank you. The next piece is then laying the sort of conceptual framework that is used to then perform the analysis. And the conceptual framework that we're doing, for the most part, we get out of it a little bit in module 6, is consumer demand. And you all, I think, have probably had some exposure to basic economics in terms of supply and demand. And sure, we talk about that, but it's mostly everything is grounded in you're an organization, you're selling this service or this product, you have these prices to pick, you're then seeing resulting completed sales. And the question is, how do you take that data and use it? If you're interested in knowing how it relates to that supply and demand graph and framework, we'll show that to you, but we're also just saying, look, this is what we have to work with. And one of the very first questions is, given that kind of data, what do we do with it? How do you turn it into some sort of fitted curve or line that, and then how do you use that analytically to determine the optimal price? Would be an example of what we're doing. So module 2 is providing the infrastructure for you guys to do that. You can jump over to module 3. So in module 3 and then module 4 in a different way, we're introducing this so many different ways, the myriad ways that you can be thinking about price. So rather than just this simply, we charge different prices, so price can go up or go down, this sort of direction or single dimensional analysis. And really it exploded into, you could also charge different prices to different customers. So you can optimize a price for this group of customers and that group of customers. Well, how do you realistically do that? Breaking it down, there are different consumers, and you might be able to segment them based upon when they purchase, based upon maybe it's in terms of season, or if it's like a hospitality or a transportation, like a flight, how far away from the departure date or the arrival date of a hotel room or a cruise. That can be it, but it also could be maybe time of day that it's being purchased. So there's a lot of different ways to think about it. And module 4 goes into great depth, as we'll talk about it, in terms of that timing of purchase and what's called dynamic pricing, where the pricing changes over time. But even in terms of thinking about how can you segment the market in so many different ways, that's what module 3 is all about. And I think, although I'm sure you guys have some experience and exposure to price discrimination, sometimes it's called price segmentation. When I've myself gotten a lot of theoretical treatment of it, I still found so much interesting insights from what Bob was sort of packaging together and different ways of thinking about the pricing problem. I can guarantee every one of you guys are going to come out with a different perception about what pricing is and what you can do with it. We really just give you that landscape in module 3. And then we can jump over. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, so module 4 is we dive into more specifics in the context of dynamic pricing, and dynamic just meaning it's changing over time. So if you have any sort of fluctuating demand, it could be you're selling a merchandise and there's an early buyer kind of segment and then a late or willing to wait segment. That might be it, or it could be something that's seasonal itself, like clothing or apparel that maybe sells a different way in the summer, warm months than in the winter months. You get the idea that there's a lot of different things that the demand is and the value for things can change over time. And so the question is, how do you adjust for that? So we go into great depth in thinking about if you have, especially if you have something like a concert event tickets or stadium or sports event tickets, but also flights, seats on a plane, rooms at an airport. There's always the key there is that there's a capacity constraint. You only have a certain amount to sell, which means that if you sell more at this price, you're maybe sacrificing, losing out on being able to sell those same tickets at a higher price maybe later on. And so then the question is, how much do you sell early on at a lower price and how much do you save? And there's an analytical approach to that we go through so that you understand conceptually how to do it. And then we do a little bit of analytics as well. And we also introduce this idea of machine learning and price testing and how to do that systematically. Jump to module 5. So in module 5, we both get to the conclusion of this idea of segmentation where you can segment on an individual customer level. So you can think about it that way as the ultimate, but also it's getting into a little bit more specific B2B scenarios. So many of you guys are coming from industries where you're not really selling to customers, you're selling to other businesses. And in many cases that operates in a model where you can customize pricing. In fact, you're expected to your clients by just in terms of this quote or that you're offering, or in terms of tailoring, customizing the package of services or product that you're offering. And so then once you get into customized pricing, it's a whole sort of new level of analysis in terms of figuring out how to best do that. And Bob uses from his own consulting company, Noma Solutions, which provides services like revenue optimization services for a number of different industries, but we work with the actual data that he's used for e-car auto loans. And so looking at that approach, which technically that is a customer-based model, but it's very similar. In that case, you have people interested in a car loan, and maybe they put their information in, their credit scores, so it's self-reported and it's checked later, their maybe history, maybe some credit history about their previous auto loans, but then about the car itself that you're looking to get a loan on, and of course the amount of loan that you're interested in, into some sort of aggregator that then solicits requests from different companies, and e-car being one of them. Or these are people putting in this information, request a bid, request a price, a loan rate from them directly. In any case, so the question from e-car loan is, all right, so I'm given data, customers are coming to me, they're giving me some information. What would be my optimal pricing strategy given that? And so one of the things you can do is, even if you just narrow it down and say, okay, let's say we have FICO scores in this narrow bandwidth, and we have cars of this type, maybe it's a new car or a used car, and then we have loan amounts of this much, and you have this all sort of narrowed down to some specific, then we can do an optimization. And in this case, it's a little bit different than in previous because we can offer a price, and then that price is either accepted or not. So we derive what's called a bid response curve. It's very similar to the price response curve, like the demand that we were talking about earlier. Same idea. We just have to use a little bit more sophisticated analysis called logistic regression. And it technically was part of what we could have done earlier as well. We just didn't go into that depth. But this is something that we just walk through, and we walk through with the actual data. We have an assignment doing this, but I walk through it through in the office hours and in the tutorial videos, and you can just get a sense about how to actually do that analysis. Now, if some of you guys are familiar with programming language-based analytical software such as Python or R or MATLAB or these kind of things, you will be able to do some of this analysis maybe more efficiently and maybe greater depth. We are just giving you the sense about how to do everything within Excel because everyone has that, and you at least have something to show from this program of, okay, I have the actual files, I use this data, I'm able to produce these results and these visualizations, and that's something you can then use for your own organization or moving forward. Yeah, so we go through all of the pieces there. Mark, I'll hit the last module. We wrap it up with a bit of a step back and recognition that our modeling framework work well and provide us answers to the questions that we need, but we cannot ignore the fact that sometimes people process information and or people respond in ways that aren't necessarily expected. And that's something we have to keep in mind when we set prices, because if we're setting price, which may make sense completely in an economic, rational, quote unquote, thinking landscape, but in reality, this might be viewed and there might be some resentment by your customers as a result of it, and blah, 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 blah. So we walk through these sort of behavioral considerations to just recognize that the way in which it's marketed, the way in which these plans are implemented affects the outcome dramatically. And that's something we have to recognize. And it also gives us maybe some insight into other ways of optimizing revenue, because that's really what behavioral economics is. So I think that's it. That's my spiel of the program as a whole. And I think that's my last slide. Is that right, Mark?
That's absolutely right, Brian. Thank you so much for that excellent overview through all the modules. Now that we've learned all about what you will learn, let me tell you a little bit about how to learn and what your program highlights are throughout this course. So first and foremost, there are a lot of different things here that we can talk about. The first that I actually would like to talk about before we talk about anything else is what we like to call bite-sized learning. So what we've done with this program is we have broken it down into bite-sized pieces so that no matter what your schedule is, no matter what your work balance, life balance, however your schedule figures itself out, you can find the time to achieve your educational goals and your learning objectives with this program. Now, our students devote between 4 to 6 hours per week on this course. That is the range, not an average. So when I say 4 to 6 hours a week, I don't mean some students it takes them 2 hours and some students it takes them 10 hours. 4 to 6 hours per week is the full range of what it takes our students to complete their objectives every week for this program. Now, in a traditional academic environment, if we're talking about synchronous learning, 4 to 6 hours per week on a traditional college campus would probably be 2 to 3 hour classes in a week. So a 2 or 3 hour class 2 or 3 times a week, that would be the standard or the average. But we understand the whole point of asynchronous learning. The whole point of online learning is that it can be adjusted to any schedule. So we have broken down these video lectures into 5, 7, sometimes even as short as 3-minute pieces. So even if you only have 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, if you can add up those 5 to 10 minute breaks throughout your week, if you can add them up to 4 to 6 hours in a week, you can accomplish your goals. So say you have a commute, you're on the train for 20 minutes to work and on the train 20 minutes home from work. That's 40 minutes that you can go through 6, 8, maybe even 10 videos just doing what you would normally do on the way to and from work. And that 20 minutes each way by train has suddenly turned into over 3 hours that you can commit every single week to your learning objectives. So on top of the bite-sized learning, you'll also have peer-to-peer learning. You will really feel like you are part of a cohort. And part of that is because of your live office hours with Brian, your program leader, but also those program leader guided discussions on the bottom left. Brian's going to be moderating these discussion boards where you're going to be able to bring all your experience and all your insights into the program and discuss them over these discussion boards. There's also going to be other companion reading as well if there's more that you want to be digesting as you go through this program. Triad activities, real world applications and activities. Everything's in one mobile learning app. So it's not like we're emailing you a ton of links and then you're trying to keep track of which links you've watched. Everything is in one place. Everything is contained. So you just open up the app and you go through your learning as you go. And if you ever have any problems with the app or any of your technical or logistical problems, we have a 24/7 dedicated program support team that is there to support you at any time if you need it. Now, upon successful completion of this program, participants will receive a verified digital certificate of completion from Columbia Business School Executive Education, which counts towards 2 credits for a certificate in business excellence. And if you want to find out more information about the certificate in business excellence, you can email columbia@emeritus.org. But this certificate of participation is great for a resume. It's great to have on your resume if you bring it in to an interview or if you raise negotiations, something like that. It's great to leverage for your present or future career. You also never know. So you might be if you're in an interview, you might be on the other side of a table from someone else who is also taking a course through Columbia Business School Executive Education, maybe even this one. And you will find that you share a common language, a vernacular that you can share in that interview. But also our students find this really useful to put on social media. If you put this on your LinkedIn, you'll be able to connect with members of past cohorts, members of future cohorts. So you'll be able to find other students. So not only will you be close and learning peer-to-peer learning through your own cohort, but you'll also be able to connect to other students from other cohorts as well. So this is just a great feather in your cap, a great bonus aspect of this incredible course built through Columbia Business School Executive Education. So with that, program support is putting up a link in the chat box that you can click on to join the next cohort of this program. Pricing methodologies. Unlike pricing efficiency with data and insights, the next cohort is right around the corner. So please go ahead, click on that link, register for the next cohort. Even if you have another Zoom, say you have another meeting or something, or you can't register right now, please just go ahead and click on that link. Keep it open in your browser so that when you have a moment, because I don't want you to say, I'll do this tomorrow, I'll do this the day after tomorrow, and suddenly a week or two goes by and you've missed the next cohort. So please go ahead, click on that link. If you're anything like me, your browser already has 50 tabs open. So go ahead, click on that link, make it the 51st tab open in your browser so that you can register for this program as soon as it is convenient for you. And if you have any additional questions about anything about this program or any other class offerings through Columbia Business School Executive Education, I want to take advantage of all the time that we have to spend with Brian. So, Brian, can you tell us a little bit more about this pricing playbook that was mentioned in Module 6, about how that gets built and how, if you have any anecdotes about how maybe some of our students have ever used that pricing playbook in the past, but just can you tell us a little bit more about that pricing playbook?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. That was something I remembered at the end of my spiel. Oh yeah. So the pricing playbook is really a way to log everything that you're getting out of the program, module by module, to log it and also apply it to your organization, either what you're currently at or your imagined hypothetical organization, maybe if you're between positions. And what's nice about that is that it keeps track of everything that you're doing in the program. And at the end, you have what essentially is a document, maybe it's a presentation that you can then bring to someone and say, maybe it's a superior. And so you're arguing, hey, if I had this data, this is the kind of analysis that I could do, and this is why I need access to this on the back end of, or whatever. And so it's nice to have it all packaged so that you have something to show for it. Or maybe it's what you put together to then take somebody you already have working for you, or you want to hire somebody or farm it out to an outside consultant group and say, hey, I want this done. This is what I want to have done. And go for it. We're equipping everybody in the program with the ability to do some of this analysis, to walk through all of the steps, but it's all not necessarily something you're going to necessarily do yourself. We recognize you might be hiring somebody for that, but having the exposure and experience going through it will be very helpful as you see what's being brought to you and know what questions to ask and all of that. The pricing playbook is something, one module, 1 week, it might be, to what extent is your organization's product or service that you're providing dynamic? What extent are prices changing over time, or is the demand changing over time in certain ways? And so you're just asked to just think about what this means. And you might be surprised. Once you get into it, you might realize, oh, actually, there are ways in which I can think about this as different over time. And wow, I actually could, if we think about it and structure it a certain way, we could change the prices for these different, say, time periods. And so it'll get you to think. And that's important, because otherwise it's just passive learning. And that's not good. I'm sure you know that. Does that answer the question, Mark, that you posed?
Absolutely, Brian. Thank you so much for that. Brian, do you have any final points that you want to make for our future students? Anything about this program that you want them to know before they go register?
No, I was thinking you don't. I guess one other question I sometimes get is, do I need to have data from my current organization in order to do anything for this program? And you don't. I'll just clarify that question that wasn't asked, but maybe thought. But no, I'm excited to go on the journey with you all and excited to meet you. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brian. Everyone, program support is putting that link back up in the chat box that you can click on and register for this program. Pricing methodologies, unlock pricing efficiency with data insights offered through Columbia Business School Executive Education. The next cohort is right around the corner. So click on that link and register for the next cohort of this program. I want to thank our amazing program leader, Brian Gross, so much for your time and expertise. Brian, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. And thank you, Mark.
And thank you, all of you who took an hour of your day to watch this webinar, to join us today. Thank you all so much for being here. We know your time is precious. So thank you all so much for being here. If you have any additional questions at any time, you can always send them to Columbia@emeritus.org. Again, that's Columbia with a U @emeritus.org. Thank you all so much for being here. We look forward to having you in the next cohort. Until then, have a beautiful day, everyone. Bye-bye now.